The second statement I'd like to cover this evening is with respect to Ocean Choice International proposed Long Pond development. And of course that has been in the media over the past day or so. We would like to inform residents that Ocean Choice International is in the early stages of a proposed development in Long Pond that could see the initial development of new land, a 90-meter wharf, as well as the possible construction of a new cold storage facility and office. The business plan for the project is still being finalized by Ocean Choice, and a final decision to proceed has not been made at this time. Prior to a decision, Ocean Choice will need to go through the appropriate approval process, which also includes public consultation. And I want to make that perfectly clear that this project will include every piece of public consultation that's possible. If residents would like more information on Ocean Choice International proposed Long Pond development, they can visit the development notices section of our website at conceptionbaysouth.ca.
I want to say one more thing, and it's kind of awkward because I've been absent, totally absent from the debate on what's happening at the Long Pond port. And that's not by choice, believe me, because I have some very strong opinions on it, and it's very hard for someone with my personality to sit on my tongue. But that's exactly what I'm doing in this case, simply because I own a property, as most people know. I've lived there my lifetime. Well, I think the house we're joking about was 50 years old this summer. So I lived there most of that, and it's still in my family, obviously. So it's because of that I can't participate in the discussion of the things that are happening at Long Pond Port. It kills me to stay out of this debate, but it's apparently what you have to do when you sign on for these jobs. So I'll leave it at that, other than to say that's why I'm absent, is because there is a conflict of interest, because I own a property at the beginning of Terminal Road, which most of the residents here that have any history in the town realize. So that's why I'm not involved in that debate. And I believe the Deputy Mayor has been carrying most of the load on that so far. So,
one other thing, and this is going to be the last thing, is about the Ocean Choice update. As many are aware, Ocean Choice International is proposing a development that could see the initial development of new land created by infilling 1.7 hectares at the west end of Long Pond. The development proposal includes a new 90-meter wharf on the infill land. Ocean Choice has noted that a cold storage facility and office building may be built on the infill land in the future, and that future expansion of the infill area could increase the total infill area by additional 0.8 to 0.25 hectares. The proposal is located within the industrial general zone and within high hazard vulnerability area identified by the town's municipal plan. Any proposed commercial or industrial development within the high hazard vulnerability area identified by the town's municipal plan must be assessed to evaluate the level of hazard risk, taking into consideration susceptibility of the proposed development to storm surges, erosion, or flooding. Such an assessment must be done in the form of a land use impact assessment report. The town's development regulations requires the town to provide opportunity for the public to review these terms of reference. Public notice seeking that input was first published on July 29th. The town decided to continue to receive submissions beyond the original deadline to ensure that the public had adequate opportunity to provide input. The town has worked with an independent consultant to refine the terms of reference based on this feedback. Subsequently, a draft version has now been issued on the town's website and by other means. The town will consider comments or submissions from the public, and the document may be revised once again to reflect concerns raised by the public that Council feels should be addressed in the Land Use Impact Assessment Report. Anyone wishing to provide feedback should do so in writing by 2 p.m. Friday, October 16, 2020. Further details can be found on the town's website. Council will approve the final terms of reference, which will be made available to the public. Similarly, when the applicant submits the land use impact assessment report, council will make that available to the public as well. So I just wanted to provide an update as to where that project is at the present time.
Yes, Your Worship. First item brought forward is from a privileged meeting earlier this week. Number 1, Harbour infill marginal wharf.
Excuse me, Councillor, I'm going to declare conflict of interest, Councillor Hillier, so Deputy Mayor Murphy.
Go ahead, Councillor Hiller.
Yes, Your Worship. As I said, this is a motion regarding the Harbour infill marginal wharf proposal in Long Pond. The recommendation be it so resolved that the terms of reference for a land use impact assessment report regarding the proposed development of a harbour infill and marginal wharf at Terminal Road be approved and issued to the applicant. So moved.
We have a mover. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Tilley, any discussion?
Your Deputy, I would like to move to defer this motion. I'm doing so because I think there are some questions that need to be answered before we go through and push this off onto OCI to answer. And some of those questions may not be able to be answered for the next few weeks, but I'm them move forward. But I'm making a motion to defer.
Do we have a seconder for that motion? I'll second the motion. Seconded by Councillor Bursey. So we have a discussion on that particular motion.
Your Worship, I understand, just if I could speak to the deferment, what the councillor is referring to, but I know the committee reviewed all the input and the terms of reference per se would not change, or I don't see it changing. And, you know, we spent a considerable amount of time working through all the residential comments and so forth. So, you know, I guess whatever plan the company finalizes and approvals that are needed, they're still going to carry out the terms of reference as we've developed. The answers may change, but the questions that we've included wouldn't. So I see no reason to defer.
Any further discussion?
Your Worship, we've been receiving questions for a month, maybe 2 months, 3 months on this proposal, and our answer has always been, we'll put your question in the terms of reference, and you'll get your answer from there. We've worked through a process that I may get an opportunity to discuss at a later moment, whereby we now feel that we have those terms of reference in place, and it's time that we get the answers for those people who've been asking those questions for the last 3 months.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, Your Worship, I thought about it and I'm back to reading all the statements, and where I'm to on it is because I'm not just saying that I'm against the terms of reference, but we don't have all the permits put in place, all the questions they're not answered, and my fear that the terms of reference mightn't change after the because they already been turned down once already for the is in navigable waters, and then they've gone back again, so that may change the beans on the water kind of thing. So I said for the sake of waiting till they gets their answers from the other parties, would let's be cautious and wait, and then proceed with the terms of reference if and any changes need to be made. So that's what I'm doing, Your Worship. So.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
If there's no one else, Deputy, I'd like to close the discussion if I could.
Yes, you can.
I made the motion to defer because there are some unknowns, and I'm not sure why we would proceed without some of those answers. And I'm not even sure what benefit it would be to OCI for us to proceed because they need the answers themselves. There's 3 things outstanding right now. They have changed their footprint down at the harbour. We don't know if the LPHA has agreed to that or if there's something in place there so that that is not a problem, because it's a little bit outside the footprint from what I can see of what's been laid down previously. Navigable Waters, turned down the last submission that they had. I understand that they're working on that new proposal to get to the federal government group, but they don't have approval on that, and that could be 2 to 3 weeks away from what I understand. And as well, even if they do get approval, then Water Resources needs to give a permit on behalf of the provincial government for it. So going ahead now with the terms of reference, even though I agree a lot of work has been done and we've had the information come from the residents, and it's greatly appreciated because it's helped a great deal, and some of the input from residents didn't make it into the terms of reference for the land use impact assessment, but are to be considered by the town anyway, because there's lots for us to look at with that as well. But to go ahead now seems a little bit premature when there's so much up in the air with regards to this proposal and where OCI will be at the end of the day. If Navigable Waters gets back and says that the next proposal is not acceptable either, it could change. Well, maybe it won't change the questions, maybe it will. We don't know. I think it would be best for us to go forward with a set of questions based on where things will be when the OCI comes to us with a final proposal based on what the federal government has said to them and what the provincial government has said to them. So that's why I've moved for this to be deferred. It's not based on whether the work has been done by council, because I've been part of that work and there's been a lot of work done by council. I just think it'd be nice to see the final proposal from OCI based on what they've gotten approval from federal and provincial government before we move forward and hand this to them for work. Thank you, Deputy.
No further discussion. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of deferring the motion?
Aye.
2 against? 2 to 4. Motion is denied. Now we'll go back to the original motion made by Councillor Hillier to approve the terms of reference. It's been moved. Do we have a seconder? I think we do. Councillor Tilley. Any discussion on that motion?
Yes, Your Worship, this is the first time that we've brought a motion forward on this proposal. It's taken a lot of discussion and a lot of media attention and so on. This is the first time we brought this forward. And what I'm bringing forward this evening is what's come through Planning Committee for the last 3 months. And that's the focus that I want to take in bringing forward these terms of reference. Back during the summer, OCI came to us with this proposal. We gave them an approval in principle. One of the conditions was the land use impact assessment. And that's where our committee has been focused for the last 2.5 months. So in August, we informed residents and called for input from residents. At the same time, we brought in a third-party engineering firm, Stantec, to help us with the more technical work that we felt we couldn't do in-house. In September and early October, our staff, again with the help of Stantec, and the input from the public, we put together terms of reference for the land use impact assessment. And I guess at this point in time, I want to thank all those people who made comment in this respect. When you see the terms of reference, most of it will be what our residents said they wanted to see in these terms of reference and the questions that they've been asking for the last 3 months. In October, we posted the draft terms of reference for public review, and we received over 20 comments. And since the middle of October, these comments have been reviewed by the Planning Committee, they've been reviewed by Council, and reviewed by Stantec. Depending on the relevance, some of these new comments have been included in the terms of reference. So that brings us to where we are this evening, basically with this document that I want to bring forward. And it's an opportunity for OCI to tell us exactly what their proposal is, what they plan on doing down there, answer some of the questions that residents have. This is not an unusual process. This is the third one I believe our committee has dealt with this year. Generally, land use impact assessment is done where you've got a sensitive area, big project sensitive area, and there are questions that need to be answered before we can have a proponent go forward. So this is the proposal going forward. I know some people have had a look at it. Just to give you an indication of some of the topics. First of all, a description of expected changes to the volume and nature of land and marine traffic anticipated during construction and after completion of the project. Provide details on how any flood risk to the site will be mitigated, and details of how properties along the shoreline of the harbour will be protected from dangers associated with flood risk, and so on. One more, provide information on the marine and terrestrial environment that will be affected by the project, including direct and indirect effects, including both migratory and resident species and potential species at risk. So it's a comprehensive package. There are 21 items such as that with subcategories and so on. So what we will get back from OCI will be a significant piece of work. And with that, Your Worship, I move the acceptance.
Any further discussion? Councillor Hillier? No, I'm sorry, Councillor Uden.
Yeah, just to add, is this helps us find the answers that residents have been asking. So we're going to have, I guess, whatever comes back, third-party validated through Stantec is my understanding that council would like to have agreed. And we'd like to see some sort of future consultation, what that looks like in COVID times. But once we receive this report, I think, I guess the public will have an opportunity to provide council with feedback on it, and hopefully we can get to a decision. I think we'll get the exact details of the project through this land use assessment process, and it's the very questions that we need answered or put forward as to council to consider. So I'll be supporting this motion to move ahead.
Any further discussion? Councillor Tilley?
Thank you, Your Worship. I too as well will be supporting this motion this evening. And not to just belabor on comments from the previous councillors, there's been hundreds of questions that came across my desk, I'm sure every councillor's desk over the past couple of months. And people want these answers. I want these answers. I mean, that's the only way I'm going to be able to make an informed decision on whether or not this project should go ahead or not. I know there's some digression with regards to, we're jumping the gun a tiny bit that we don't, all the I guess the approvals are not in place, but I mean, for my own personal peace of mind, I need these answers, and I got to be able to respond back to the people who've emailed me, reached out to me, called me, that kind of stuff. And I think this is the safest route to go for now. So I'll certainly approve the motion.
Any more discussion?
If I could, Deputy.
Councillor Bent, go ahead.
Thank you. I want the answers too, and so do the residents that are concerned. But I want to make sure that they're the answers to all the questions that may come forth from whatever OCI comes up with its final footprint down at Long Pond Harbour. The questions that are in this terms of reference are well thought out, well crafted, and very comprehensive, and I have no doubt about that. And and I agree with the terms of reference that are here before us now, as per the development that is before us now. But we don't know that that's going to be the development at the end of the day, and I would like to make sure, before I approve the terms of reference for the development that is going to be before us at the end of the day, not the final full-flung end of the day for OCI and what they're developing there, but for what is being asked of us now with this infill project. So that's why I'm not going to support the terms of reference tonight. And it's not because I don't think they're comprehensive and complete. They are for what we have right now, but I don't know if that's going to be the case in 3 or 4 or 5 weeks from now, when we hear from the federal government, when we hear from the provincial government, and so on.
Thank you, Councillor Bent. Any further discussion?
Just to clarify.
Councillor Bursey.
I'm in the same boat as Darren is, so I'm not going to believe it any longer. I'm not saying that the terms of reference is wrong. They're quite, like Darren said, it's comprehensive. But when the the federal and the provincial government comes in place, things may change, and them terms of reference may be no good, or they may need to header. It is add something. It is add something to it. So on that note, I can't support that going forward unless we got the other three recommendations prior to approving it. So that's where I stand on it.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, Councillor Hillier, do you want to close debate?
Yes, Your Worship. As I said earlier, land use impact assessments are not uncommon. In fact, they are common more so than one would think. And more often than not, in discussions with staff, and it's more often than not, the permits required are not in place prior to the release of terms of reference. In this case, we've got the questions here, questions that people have been asking for months. We're going to release them to OCI. It's time for OCI to start providing the answers to those questions for the residents of this town. So OCI's got a decision to make. Are they going to assume that they're getting all their permits and do this work accordingly? Or do they wait? That's on them. That's on them. We may not get this back for 6 months. We might get it back next week. Who knows? But that's on OCI. We've done our work. We've gone through our process. We've put together the terms of reference. If the permits don't come through as they're hoping, and if there are changes, and if OCI has done the work, they'll just have to do the work over again. But that's the decision that they've got to make. We've done our piece.
Thank you, Councillor Hillier. All those in favour of the motion? Aye. Those against?
Nay.
Motion is carried.
Your Worship, before the blanket statement, I just want to let our residents know that we have received the land use impact assessment report from OCI, which we talked about in some detail 2 weeks ago.
Carry on.
I just want to let our residents know that the report has arrived. We'll be posting it on our website tomorrow morning. It's a significant piece of information. I believe it's 50 pages with 400 pages of supporting information. Next couple of weeks we'll spend evaluating this report, and from the town's point of view, Stantec, a third-party engineering firm, will do the evaluation for us. I'm sure there'll be people among our residents who will also want to review this document.
Yeah, I think I'm going to vacate the chair for the rest of this conversation. Councillor Hillier, sorry about that.
Okay.
Continue, sir.
Yes, sir. Just providing information at this point in time. For those in the general public who are, and I'm sure there are those who will be who want to review this document, we will be providing an opportunity to make comment in the coming weeks. At this point in time, we're not sure exactly what that will look like or when it will be, but people will be. Chances are, with the COVID and so on, it'll be some sort of a Zoom event, but people will be notified. If, in fact, there are those who want to make comment immediately, they should do it via email through our planning department. The planning department email is simply planning@conceptionbaysouth.ca. And Your Worship, all right, we'll bring in the mayor again.
Sure.
Okay, you blanket statement then?
Blanket statement now, Your Worship. Be it so resolved that the decisions and recommendations made at the Planning and Development Committee meeting on December 10th, 2020 be accepted as presented. So moved.
Seconder, Councillor Davis, discussion? All those in favour?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Okay, I'm going to step out now. I'll get.
You ready? Okay. Yes, Your Worship. At our last meeting, we had just received the Land Use Impact Assessment Report from the OCI project. And at that time, I spoke very briefly about how we would be engaging residents in the review of that piece of work. Tonight, I just want to give a little bit more detail. In terms of written comments, we had given until Friday past for comment on that piece of work. On Wednesday or Thursday, we received a couple of emails suggesting that people had not had time to do a good job of reviewing it. Of course, we want everybody to have an opportunity to review. So for written comments, we'll continue to accept written comments up until 4:30 on December 16th. So we're extending it by about 2 weeks to give people more opportunity to submit written comments. And again, at our last meeting, I suggested that we would probably be doing something using an online platform. And I just want to, read some details as to where we're going with that. So the town will be hosting an online consultation session starting at 6 p.m. on Thursday, December 17th, 2020, where participants will have opportunity to discuss the Land Use Impact Assessment Report with Council, the applicant and their consultant. The online platform used will be Zoom. The session will be live streamed on the town's YouTube channel, and therefore anyone who would like to tune in is welcome to do so. The session will be recorded and posted for future viewing. Anyone wishing to actively participate and engage with the panel must pre-register before 4:30 p.m. on Wednesday, December 16th, 2020 by completing the online form. On December 17th, individuals who have pre-registered will receive an email with a scheduled time slot to address the panel. Once you submit the form, please check to see that you have received your thank you email and so on. So this is taking place on December 17th. The information and form is on our town website, and I certainly encourage anyone who would like to speak personally with those people that are involved in the project to sign up for that and be involved. Thank you, and we get the mayor in, we'll do the blanket statement.
Okay, Councillor Hillier, you finished? Or not?
Just a blanket statement, Your Worship, from our meeting in November. Be it so resolved that decisions and recommendations made at the Planning and Development Committee meeting on November 24th, 2020 be accepted as presented. So moved.
Seconder? Councillor Butler, discussion? All those in favour?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you,
Thank you, Your
Councillor
Worship.
Hillier.
Speaking of land use impact assessment reports, on Thursday evening coming, we're offering an online consultation session. We'll be hosting a session that will be live streamed through the town's YouTube channel starting at 6 p.m. on Thursday, December 17, 2020. The participants will have an opportunity to pose questions and hear responses from council, the applicant and their consultant regarding the land use impact assessment report. Anyone wishing to actively participate and engage with the panel must pre-register. Of course, Your Worship, that's the OCI proposal in Long Pond. For further information, feel free to contact anyone in our planning department here at the town. Just two things. First of all, in order to be actively involved, you need to be registered, and the focus of this is the land use impact assessment report.